This is probably the biggest day in the stock market. Are we going to finally see a pullback in stocks overall? The crypto bill that failed to pass Congress is going to bring down Bitcoin stocks. We do still have chances that is going to pass though. Rivian is keeping Apple CarPlay out of their vehicles. Why does this benefit Google? We have another massive deal with MP Materials. We have Google investing $25 billion. We also have Donald Trump investing $70 billion in AI as well. Bringing up the market yesterday, Nvidia can resume their H20 chip sales and AMD as well. And we have a lot more to cover in the stock market today. That all being said, yesterday we had a big move with a lot of chip stocks. We see Nvidia up almost 4%, Broadcom almost 2%, AMD almost 7%, which is insane. And we have a lot more stocks moving. We have a lot to talk about and what is going on overall with the chip sector and just everything in general. You guys don't want to miss out on this video. Let's get started. We seen yesterday, we made brand new all-time highs in the stock market and we gave it all back shortly after that. With that all being said, we did get the CPI data, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later, and we did bounce up a little bit, but then just like last CPI report, it went down a decent amount and we lost all of our gains and fell down throughout the whole day with a big move to the downside last second. But we even had Bitcoin fall down a decent amount yesterday as well. We are kind of making a little bit of a comeback, but let's talk about what happened. So there's a bit of a roadblock in Congress. They say it does not include a ban in central bank digital currency. They're also going to be planning another vote for this. But if we go over to Polymarket, we still have a 92% chance that this will get passed. This news probably drove the market down even more, bringing less certainty to traders overall. It affects a lot of things like Coinbase, MSTR, IBIT, IBIT, an ETF that moves exactly with Bitcoin, owned by BlackRock. Pretty decent trade. Also Robinhood and a lot of other cryptos in general. But we do have crypto kind of itching up higher. Maybe we can beat some new highs once again. And or maybe we just go up to a certain level, maybe that 120, and then bounce down and make some new lows. With that being said, have your patience with Bitcoin today and overall crypto. I am personally looking at XRP and I'm looking at it deeply. I'm going to be making a separate video on XRP a little bit later, explaining some price targets, a good buy zone, and honestly, just a lot more about XRP that you guys should know before investing. So yesterday, man, the CPI, everybody was watching the CPI overall and wanted to see if tariff was included into it. With it all being said, man, we basically was spot on with some of the forecasts. The core CPI was a little bit lower, but it seemed like overall that the market did not like it so much, showing how the market moved after market open. We seen this with the last CPI reading where we had a green candle overall and then sold off all of the gains in the market and sold off even more. So we're kind of seeing what we've seen in the previous CPI. But honestly, if you really think about it, man, we are kind of overdue with the overall stock market. Investors are pricing in that deals will go good or that Trump is going to fold August 1st. But if we don't see him fold, once again, we can definitely see a big red day following with a few more red days if he stands on business with this August 1st tariffs. So keep that in mind overall. We still got 14 to 15 days until that happens. But if it happens and he doesn't fold basically what people are expecting and pricing in, we can probably see a potential big market pullback. With the data, we are showing that the markets might slow down a little. It doesn't have to be a big pullback, but in the past, we've seen minor sell-off, so keep that in mind while making plays. Even in a slower market or market going down, you can still make money to the upside. You just have to time your plays a little bit better. But with this data showing for July from 1950 to 2024, seen after the 17th, we do kind of have a little bit of a sell-off. And then towards the end of the month, like the 29th to 30, we do kind of rally back up, regain those gains back. But honestly, man, this just basically shows like if you really want to be the safest trader out there, get 3 to 4 weeks out into your option plays and you can potentially make your money back towards the end of the month if the market does follow this trend. So keep that in mind overall. Just please make safer trades and take your time while trading, especially if you can buy it at the lows, you have a more of a potential to make your money back if your swing trades the next day. So let's talk about some chip stocks. Nvidia did do pretty well and we were kind of holding up a decent amount, but we were holding above that 170 yesterday, falling down potentially. So honestly, today I am watching that 170 level overall. If we can go back above the 170, I'm gonna look at 171.5, 172.5, and that 173 level. If we could break above that, I'm looking at that 175 level next for Nvidia. But if we do start breaking down, we do got some gaps to fill all the way down to that 167.5. And if we break below that, we're going to look a little bit more bearish and looking at that 165 to that 163.5 level and that 160 level overall for Nvidia. But please take your time with this one. The Trump administration is allowing Nvidia and AMD to start selling their chips to China again, bringing both stocks up and the SPY up yesterday in the pre-market. But them getting their market share back into China can get their numbers looking good and more revenue overall. We see them big climb up for Nvidia and AMD overall. And honestly, AMD did hold up a little bit stronger. But another stock that really did move a decent amount, especially during market hours, was TSM. And TSM did pretty well, especially that little gap up we had. And then we started moving up even more during market hours. So honestly, watch TSM tomorrow. Watch that 236.5 level. If we could break above that, 237.5, 239 to that 240 level. We might be able to go up to that 240 level today. If we can see some momentum to the upside once again. To the downside, if we do start selling off, look at that 235.5, 235 level, and then that 233.5 down to that 230 level flat for TSM. But have your patience with these plays. Just see how the overall market certainty is looking. You can watch the SPY or anything like that, but we did have a gap up yesterday with the SPY. We lost all of those gains literally the same day. Another one that I personally have in my long term, and I have a pretty low cost for it, but SMCI also gapped up because of this, and it held up pretty strong, and it's kind of looking like it's holding up the strongest. So I'm personally looking at SMCI as well, as long as nothing bad happens once again, if you guys understand what I'm talking about. If you want to up your trading knowledge and do it for cheap, I got cheap courses down below to help you guys become profitable with trading. First link in the description below. Check it out if you guys want. Truflation did come out today criticizing the Fed, saying that they are using outdated data instead of the real-time data, saying that they are asleep at the wheel. I mean, this is kind of a promotion as well, you know, trying to get them to use their software, but they are coming out criticizing the Fed. So it's not only President Donald Trump that is criticizing the Fed, basically. We also see the White House is starting a formal process to pick the next Fed chair, and it is potentially can be Bessent himself. We also got some better news for MP Materials overall yesterday. So they mine rare earths and make things out of these rare earths. And we've seen a deal with Apple, basically $500 million rare earths deal, but they also have a bigger one that's worth $500 billion. And they're basically just trying to get magnets for their iPhones and other products that they have, and potentially starting their own plant. MP Materials also had a big investment from the Department of Defense. I think they own like 15%. MP Materials is doing pretty good, and you can see even more room for people to make more investments into this. Just have your patience with this one. It's moving pretty good so far. I'd personally wait for another pullback to get into this one as a long. It seems overextended right now, but for tomorrow, you can also watch this one, especially if we break above some highs. We could potentially make some more plays with this one. But like I said, man, please have your patience. We might have a little bit of a gap up like we've seen in the past couple of days when market opens, and then maybe even just a little pullback. So if you see a little gap up and you miss your opportunity, you could potentially play a put option on this one, make a quick buck, and then get out. You know, just make it a quick play. Don't get too greedy with this one if you guys do want to play MP, but MP is looking pretty decent. So let's talk about more about some events to watch for today. So today is Wednesday, July 16th, and we do have the PPI capacity utilization. We got a little speech coming out, and then honestly just some other speeches. Not really anything too major. The PPI might move the market an hour before it opens, so keep that in mind overall. Now let's talk about some earnings. So we do have some more banks. Bank of America, we have Johnson & Johnson, PNC, Morgan Stanley, M&T Bank, ASML, and some other ones reporting before open, so you can keep those on your radar. But one that I'm watching after close is going to be United, just because Delta recently beat their earnings and it brought other airliners up. So if this one does the same thing, you can see airliners to the upside in the short term, but only if they beat. So I'm not going to be playing it before, but I might play it the next day to see how airliners move. But one that I'm very pumped about is going to be TSMC and Netflix. These two are going to be some great earnings, especially seeing where chips are going. And honestly, man, we got to wait for NVIDIA. NVIDIA's in like a month and a half for their earnings. So this one can maybe potentially bring NVIDIA up or down with it. So we also had some banks earning some double-digit growth. So we had Citi beating by 18%. We had Wells Fargo beating by 13%. And we also had JP Morgan beating by 16.8%. They did pretty well. Didn't really move too much off of these, though. We are looking like we went to the downside with these, except for Citi. Citi moved pretty decently. But these earnings showed that the U.S. economy and Wall Street are still chugging along. We see investment banking fees increase by 7%. Trading revenue rose by 15% as investors reacted to tariff uncertainty, and consumer spending with the JP Morgan cards increased by 7% overall, making the market still looking like they're chugging along, like they said, you know. We also had U.S. President Trump saying that he's working on 5 to 6 trade deals, and there will be probably 2 or 3 deals by August 1st. But with that being said, if he only is expecting 2 to 3 deals by August 1st, That means we might still get a little bit of an extension on that August 1st deadline, potentially. We also see the bonds making a low and honestly in a bear market overall. Tesla's top North American sales exec, Troy Jones, left the company after 15 years, according to the Wall Street Journal. His departure adds to a growing list of key executives exiting Tesla this year alone. The news comes as Tesla faces declining sales in North America and Europe and shifts focus towards robotics and self-driving technology. Tesla stock did fall slightly after the report, and we do kind of see Tesla kind of losing the momentum to this upward trend. So we are looking like we might be filling some gaps back down, maybe down past that 300, below that 300, look at that 295 and that 290 level, and then watch that 290. If we break lower than that 290, we might even itch down lower with Tesla. So keep this in mind overall while trading Tesla, because we might be kind of selling off a decent amount, and or we might make some higher highs. If we make some higher highs, we can look bullish a little bit more. But right now we are looking like we're selling off just a decent amount. So have your patience with Tesla as well. I would wait until it breaks that 320 level once again. If we could break above, like maybe it's at 325, we might be able to look a little bit more bullish overall for Tesla. But this one, we are looking a little bit more bearish. So you have Google is investing $25 billion over the next 2 years to expand its AI infrastructure and data center across the PJM power grid, which spans 13 US states. This plan includes $3 billion to modernize the hydropower plants in Pennsylvania, helping meet growing electricity demand from AI technologies. The move highlights Google's push to build cleaner and more reliable energy for its AI expansion. We also had Trump kind of doing the same thing for $70 billion in AI and energy investments as well. But you can watch Google to the upside because of this. And we also seen Rivian embraces Google with Maps integration, and it shuts out Apple CarPlay. So you can see Apple maybe potentially to the downside because of this, and maybe Google benefiting because of this deal. We also got some more good news with Google, but it didn't really move the stock too much. But we seen today that the AI agent Big Sleep just foiled a cyber attack, possibly being the first ever stop by AI. Did not really see a big reaction, like I said, but this is kind of big for AI stopping a cyber attack, and it shows like potential for future cyber attacks getting prevented by AI and just making AI look a little bit better overall. So we had a trade deal with Indonesia, but with that being said, it's going to be a 19% tariff and no tariff return. But Indonesia did not confirm this one yet. So keep that in mind. If we do get it confirmed, we might see some upward momentum. But honestly, just waiting for the headline to come out from Indonesia's side. With all that being said, man, it's time for some sports and resistance. We already got to some with AMD and the video overall, but let's look a little bit more of the SPY. We kind of got into the SPY, but let's look at it a little bit more in depth. So first off, man, we're at that 621.5. We can hold above this. We might be able to go up a little bit higher, 622.5 to that 625 level. If we can break above that 625 level, let's look at it touching the highs again to that 628 level. If we can break above that, look at 628.5, 629 to that 630 level. But if we do start inching down lower, we're going to be making some more lows, and we got some gaps to fill to the downside. So first one is going to be that 620. Below that, we're going to be looking at 618. If we break below that 618, we're not really looking too good overall. Look at that 615 to that 610 level for the SPY overall. We are looking like we're itching down lower, making some new lows overall for the past couple of days. And honestly, if we break below this, we're not really going to be looking good for the overall stock market. But next is going to be Apple, one that I'm personally looking at myself. And honestly, we haven't really gotten no good news with Apple. And that lawsuit where investors aren't happy that the AI didn't really come out for the iPhone 16 is coming out a little bit more. So that might affect the stock a little bit more. But I'm going to be watching that 210 level. We could break above that 210, 210.5, 211.5, and that 212. We could break above that 212. I'm looking at 213.5 to that 215 level for Apple. If we do start breaking down lower, look at that 208.5. 208 flat, 207.5, break below that, looking at 205 to that 200 level for Apple overall. Palantir, man, Palantir made some highs yesterday. We broke that 150 level, but soon after that, we did fall down a decent amount. So I'm going to be watching the retest of that 150, 151, 151.5, 153.5, 155, and that 160 to the downside, looking at 148.5, 148, 147, and that 145 level for Palantir overall. Tesla, man, Tesla isn't really looking too good. Like I said before, going to be looking at that 305 to that 300, 295, and that 290 level flat. If we do start itching up higher, look at that 312.5, 316.5, 320, and that 325 to that 330 level for Tesla overall. Google is looking okay. We did itch up a decent amount to that 185.5 level, but we did sell off soon after that. I'm hoping that we can retest that 185 level to that 185.5 and pass that, looking at that 186.5, 187.5, and that 190 level. But to the downside, I am looking at that 180 level. If we could break below that 180 level, we are going to be looking a little bit more bearish overall. And then looking at that 175 level. But to the downside, I am still looking at like that 182.5, 182, 181.5, and then that 181 to that 180 level. Bitcoin, let's see how long this rally lasts. If we keep on going up even more, look at that 120 flat and then all the way up to like that 122 to that 123 level. And then if we could break above that, make some new highs, we could look a little bit more bullish for these stocks that I'm mentioning next. Is going to be MSTR. MSTR is kind of in this range right now because Bitcoin's kind of in a range. And then Coinbase as well. Coinbase is in this range. We might be able to test that 400 once again for Coinbase, but just have your patience. And next is IBIT, IBIT. Just like I said, man, owned by BlackRock. They own more Bitcoin than MSTR themselves, and they're making a decent move and breaking records with this ETF. But I personally trade it because the options are relatively cheap and you can get like 3 weeks out for like $230. So it's not even that bad, honestly. And I do recommend trading this one 3 to 4 weeks out and then honestly just seeing how Bitcoin price movement moves. But with that all being said, man, good luck trading today. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you guys are new. I just want to say thank you guys for 450 subs. Let's get to 500 next. Help me out. Thank you.